All hiccups out. Okay. Hey, it's me. Today, I'm gonna be doing something a little bit unusual thanks to you guys. This was your idea. This was not another comment bomb situation. This is just something that I've seen requested multiple times, and it's not like a ton of people have requested it, but it was such an odd idea. I thought it was kind of weird that several people were requesting this. It must mean that I should do it.
Right?
I am going to be painting on paint brushes. And I have painted on paint palettes. I think ever since I did the first paint palette painting video is when I started seeing the request to paint on paint brushes. How many times am I gonna say paint? So it's been kind of an idea that's floating around for quite a while at this point. I didn't think that I was going to ever do it because I was picturing myself painting on the paint brushes that I normally use, which are like pretty small. It's like decorating pencils. You can only take it so far, although I have done that before. But then I thought, ooh, what if I get the big fat paint brushes? We beef up our surface area a little bit, and maybe there is some potential for this idea. I'm a little intrigued. I kind of wanted to do something different, so we're gonna try this, and I hope it makes you happy. So let's do it. All right. Hi. Here is my big, beefy paintbrush. This is the kind of brush that you would use for things like walls and furniture, you know, grown-up painting projects. I usually just like to paint things like squishies. But anyway, yes, it's a fat paintbrush. Let's paint on it. And like every good painting project does, this is gonna start with some gesso, I guess. I don't know, I've never done this before. So let's get a nice glob of that and go right in for the bristles. Ah, that's nice. To the people who suggested this idea, I don't know exactly what you had in mind.
Is this how you do it?
It's possible that by painting on paintbrushes, they just meant decorating the handles, but clearly I've taken this very literally, and we're just painting the entire thing. After the first coat, I am left with a very crunchy paintbrush. This is quite weird. Let's keep going. I'm just gonna repeat that on the other side. First of all, I gotta scrape that sticker off. Ooh, that worked nicely.
I like you.
Obviously, this brush is no longer going to be a functional paintbrush. I'm thinking the goal is to turn this into a decoration, much like my painted paint palette collection. In fact, I'm gonna hang this on the wall right next to them, and it'll be great. Whoops, my laundry is done. Gotta remember to switch that. Okay, anyway, right. It's another art tool covered in art to serve as a piece of art decor for my art room. Now, after that nice coat of gesso, the bristles are all in one piece, and the whole thing is nice and ready for paint. But first, I have an idea. Of course, I have to drag puffy paint into this. I decided to try to make it look like this brush has thick, wet paint on it. And since puffy paint is nice and 3D, I thought it would work really well to get that effect. So I've just smothered that on. It took its sweet time to dry. This took a full 24 hours before it was completely dry. So after waiting for so long for this to be ready, what did I do? I did it again. I wanted the paint to be even more exaggerated, and I didn't want any of the bristle texture to show through. So I felt the need to go over all of this again with another thick coat. Alright, and that one's gonna take another 18 hours to dry. Finally, the brush is ready to decorate. I'm gonna whip up a quick brown color. That looks nice. And this is gonna go on the handle as the wood color. I'm trying to go for like a fancy paintbrush with a stained handle. In the moment, I felt like the color was a little bit too dark. I ended up going over that with a lighter color, which I have mild regrets about because I actually think that that dark color
Was kind of nice.
I am gonna add more to the handle later, but for now, I'm just impatient to start working on the rest of this brush. So the bristles, I'm gonna paint them bristle color. I'm painting the paintbrush to look like a paintbrush. What is this? Just stick with me for a second. Okay, I did feel like this color was a little bit too dark, so I decided to lighten that up. Deja vu. I'm essentially using like cartoon colors on a real paintbrush. So I'm trying to make a fake paintbrush brush out of a real paintbrush. I don't know what I'm doing in this video. Painting the bristles did get a little messy, got a little out of control there, so I'm gonna go back over that to neaten up the edges with my gesso so that I don't have to fight with that tan color being underneath. All right, let's get some excitement in here. I'm gonna pour out the full rainbow of colors in my palette and then proceed to make tiny little adjustments to each one of the colors because we can never be satisfied with the standard colors. That would be way too convenient. Except for the blue and red, apparently. But I ended up changing those two later. So here we go. I'm gonna paint the paint rainbow. So it looks like the brush has been dipped into a big tub of rainbow paint. And it's gonna be delicious. It could have been really cool if I had somehow created 3D drips coming off the end of the bristles. And that way when you hang the brush upside down, it looks like it's dripping paint. I may have needed like clay or something to sculpt the drips on there. Kind of glad I thought of that too late because I probably would have made a hot mess out of it. Working on the yellow to green transition is always tricky. The yellow to green section is kind of like the butt crack of the rainbow. It's right down the center and things tend to get a little messy. Oh, ew. Yellow and green don't always get along as harmoniously as the other colors. They just argue, but that looks pretty good. Flipping it over to the other side, I debated even painting the other side at all because this is going to just hang on the wall as decoration, so you really won't be able to see the other side, but still, I wanted to do a good job and make it nice. Also gives me a chance to do some yummy close-ups. We love it. At least I do. Alright, we got the paint painted. I would comment on how strange that sounds, but this isn't the first time I've painted paint. This is actually normal. I'm going to move on to the next phase, which involves my very fancy metallic paints. I have each color of the rainbow except for orange for some reason. Rude. So I'll have to mix myself some orange. And I'm also adding a bit of white metallic to lighten up each color just a little bit. There we go. This I'm going to be using on this thing. It's like a metal scrunchie for the bristles. The bristle scrunchie. That's probably what it's called. I'm not really feeling this though because it looks like I'm trying to match the same exact colors of the rainbow paint and failing. I usually like to try to make things match perfectly or make them very different. Close but not exact bothers me. We're gonna have to do a little paint transfer operation because I'm going to make these much lighter to make them more different. This is now the third time I've had to lighten my colors in this video. Also, let me acknowledge that because of this, all of that paint is going to go to waste. I know it hurts you, and yes, it hurts me too. I'm discussing it weekly with my therapist. I do hate seeing good paint go to waste. It happens sometimes. I'm going at this again with my lighter colors, and clearly I'm gonna have to do a buttload of layers on here since metallic paint is always so thin and transparent. Yay, this is gonna take a while, so let me spare you with that. Here is 7 coats later. And now it's a nice subtle metallic rainbow. But oh, the other side. Must we? Must we? Yes, we must. So very quickly, I'm gonna paint the metallics, do some little touch-ups and even things out while I'm at it, pop on some little juicy highlights, bring it to life, live paint.
Live.
Switching gears, I'm gonna add a nice bold cartoony wood grain to the paintbrush handle to give that some detail and really make it like pop out at you like, hey, I'm fake wood. I actually think that the contrast between the lines and the background color is a little intense. It may have looked better if I had kept that darker color. People make mistakes. I'm a people. Now that that's done, I think I've maxed out what I can really do on this, although I could have added some shading to those bristles. Well, I didn't. I threw on a coat of glossy glaze onto everything except for the bristles because I wanted the paint and the handle to really pop out at you, so I decided to use matte Mod Podge on the bristles instead of the gloss to give some differentiation there. From a perfectly practical, functioning paintbrush to a fake paintbrush decoration. Yay! It's rainbow, so that's good. I mean, we all know that this is a strange item to paint. I really didn't know how to do this, but I tried to give the people what they asked for. Here's what I've got for you. I do think it'll make for a nice, unique piece of decor for my art room that's very on theme. And I know you haven't had enough of this yet, so let's do it again. Here's the brush I'm gonna work on this time. Prepare to be useless. In with the gesso, and I'm going to follow the same process once again, just brushing on that gesso from one brush to another, really trying to fill in those bristles as well as spreading it over the rest of the brush. There we go, got that nice crunchy sound. These are some nice shots here. Ooh, smooth down the handle, lovely. I also got to make sure to slather that paint over the ends of the bristles as well to make sure that we create that bristle brick that we want. I'm sure I could have used like glue or Mod Podge to accomplish this as well, but whatever, this worked the first time. There we go, there we have it, good and stiff. And I kind of like the effect of the fake paint on the brush. Well, I guess it's not fake paint, it's real paint. You know what I mean. I'm gonna go ahead and do that again. And I went really thick, double thick, to see if I could get away with just one coat. But no, once it dried, the bristles were still visible, so I had to go in with another coat. Once that coat is dry, I can start the decoration. So the first paintbrush, I kind of just decorated it as a paintbrush. This time I decided to try to give it a little theme. So for the handle, I'm going with a waffle cone tan. You'll never guess what theme I've chosen. I'm going with a dessert theme for this paintbrush. Moving on, I'm going to mix up 2 tones of pink paint and make a mess in the process. The lighter pink I'm going to use on the bristles. We're venturing out. This is non-traditional colors for a paintbrush. And the darker pink I'm going to use on the paint, or whatever this is supposed to be. Is it frosting? Is it ice cream? I have no clue. I'm a little bit lost here. You know, as I was getting into this more though, I did start thinking of lots of other ideas. Like, what if I turn this to the side and then painted a landscape across the paintbrush? Would that be cool? Or if I did like an ocean theme and made the paint look like water and then painted like little fish?
Do I look like a fish?
Of course, I didn't have enough time for most of my ideas. There's never enough time for all my ideas.
Yeah, I have an idea. I think that's an excellent idea. Idea after idea after idea.
I was planning on painting 3 paintbrushes in this video, but mainly because of the long drying time with the whole puffy paint, fake paint made a real paint situation, that ended up eating up a lot of my work time. I'm now turning my attention to the bristle scrunchie. Gonna make sure the gesso on that is nice and neat because once again I'm using my metallic paints for this. Pour some of that and then proceed of course to add as many layers as needed to create that full metallic impact. If you're curious, it was about 5. Then I decided to try to add something to this to make it more interesting, so I plopped a bunch of little cherries on there, still using the metallic paint for that. I even added some little stems to them because they looked more like chickenpox without stems, and some pearlescent white highlights to give them some juice.
Speaking of juice,
I threw on some highlights to the frosting stuff, whatever that is, and maybe it's edible paint. I don't know. Of course, we cannot create a dessert theme without sprinkles. Final touch, I'm going back to the handle and going to mark out some lines to create my waffle cone pattern. It got a little tricky continuing those lines seamlessly onto the other side, but if you don't look too closely, it doesn't look too terrible. What did I just say? Finally, I added my gloss varnish to protect the paint, and here it is, the final paintbrush. What can I say? It's cute, it's weird, it's a painted paintbrush. I'm definitely curious to get your feedback on these because I honestly have no idea if you guys are gonna like this and think it's cool or if it was just incredibly boring. Either way, I'm trying to do my best with it, okay? I do think that they make a nice addition to my wall of paint palettes, although they are very outnumbered. Painting on art supplies, you know, it's a whole concept here, and I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of like it. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you guys did enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!